Alright, we got another video. This one is called The Insane Crimes, Injuries, and Deaths of Influencers. It's kind of a long video. I usually aim for short videos, but this one's gonna be a little bit longer.
In the world of social media, people are always trying to one-up each other by posting the most outrageous content, either in order to get noticed, or possibly just because they're stupid. Let's look into a good number of those cases. We live in an era where influencers, or at least people who want to be influencers, will do almost anything to get views. In a world where online content is a dime a dozen, it becomes very difficult, nearly impossible, to build an individual, distinguishable presence online. This is even more true when it comes to short-form content. When people are realistically only going to watch for a couple of seconds before they simply swipe on to the next video, that only gives the creator a mere couple of seconds to build an identity and garner a sub. In an environment like this, it's no wonder that people will do anything for clout or views. Whether it's doing something insanely dangerous, something controversial, or just something plain stupid, people are more willing than ever to move forward if it might get their name out there. First, let's start with the story of the butterfly injection. It wasn't too long ago that a teenage boy really made waves on the internet for attempting what has only been described as one of the most strange things anyone has tried to do for social media. While it has been debated on if he was trying to attempt some sort of online challenge, many haven't been able to find any sort of challenge that really fits the bill. This means that he pretty likely came up with the idea himself and was filming it completely of his own volition. A 14-year-old boy in Brazil, Davi Nunes Moreira, decided he would crush up a dead butterfly, put it into a syringe, and inject the whole thing into a vein in his leg. He went to the pharmacist to get some supplies, buying a syringe. He then picked up a dead butterfly, crushed it up, mixed it into some water, and prepared to inject it. He jabbed it into his leg and injected a large portion of the concoction. Immediately he began to feel sick and struggled to walk in any capacity. Afterwards, his symptoms became more severe as he couldn't stop vomiting. Once his father realized that something was wrong, he took him out to the hospital. Here, Davi still didn't want to admit what he had done. Davi remained in the hospital as the doctors were confused as to what had even gone wrong with him, having very little information to go on. Thus far, Davi had only told his father that he had hurt himself while roughhousing outside. However, as things got more dire, he finally opened up to what he had really done. He told his father that he had injected himself with a butterfly for a video. His father later found the syringe he had used hidden under a pillow at their home. Davi admitted to the hospital staff what he had done as well. It was said that his experience in the hospital was pure agony, and after an agonizing 7 days, he ultimately passed away. Unfortunately, even by then, the doctors weren't really sure what to do about such an unprecedented injury. They weren't even sure what had actually killed him. They said that it could have been an embolism from the air left inside the syringe, it could have been an allergic reaction, possibly an infection, or something else entirely. The hospital staff is also exploring the possibility that the toxins from the mixture might have sent him into septic shock. However, they're still in the dark, with staff saying, "We don't know how he prepared this mixture or the size of the fragments he managed to inject into his body." The local police are now hoping that the autopsy will confirm a cause of death. Either way, however, it's still far too late for Davi.
Nah, we got people injecting themselves with butterflies nowadays. And plus, ain't that unsanitary? I know that insects be outside. Don't they transfer Because I know outside cockroaches, weasels, and stuff like that, they have bacteria on them that can transfer diseases on them that can transfer and can harm you. I don't know about butterflies like that, but wait, what was the challenge? What was the challenge? How is injecting yourself with a butterfly a challenge?
Now, how about the story of a man who was setting fires for clout? When it comes to some content, the type of material you cover is a bit harder to predict. That was very true for a man named Joshua Christian Stanley Jackson from Maryland. Known as _pullover on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, Joshua had a channel that mainly consisted of emergency response teams working in real time. The problem is, Joshua couldn't really predict when and where his content would take place and still get there on time to get the whole thing on camera. After all, it's not like the police were really going to inform him of any ongoing situation before they headed out. So little did anyone know, Joshua was fudging things just a little bit behind the scenes. That meaning he was starting a lot of these fires and then calling the police so he could film their response. On Monday, February 22nd, 2025, Joshua was doing just that. On Crane Highway at around 8:30 p.m., Joshua set fire to a small house and called 911 just as he usually did. Joshua, in one of his posts, said that he was working DoorDash that night, came across the fire on the side of the highway by pure coincidence, and decided to call the police. Well, the police and firefighters quickly came to realize that this fire had been set deliberately. Seeing that the man who called in the fire was known for filming an oddly high amount of these scenes in real time, they immediately came to suspect that he was likely behind it. Not only did they find that Josh wasn't working DoorDash that night, but they found that he was also the one who called to report at least 3 other fires within the last few months. Joshua was then nabbed and brought in for questioning. He quickly, openly admitted that he had set the fire. He told the investigators that this was his side gig and he had made some fairly good money from his channel up until this point. So he started the fire in that abandoned house that night, feeling it would be a pretty safe bet for some content. Josh was then charged with causing a false fire alarm, malicious burning, and second-degree arson. He was thrown into the Charles County Detention Center without bond. He's now being investigated in several more arson cases in different neighboring cities. Shortly after his arrest, all of Josh's videos, channels, and most of his social media accounts aside from Facebook were quickly deleted.
Don't it look like he got a lazy eye or something? Like, this man's eyes can't stay open. Why is his eyes, like, drooling? Like, they're, like, down. Like, he's not opening them wide enough. Like, second of all, why are you starting fires for, like, content? I know people, like, be doing stuff deliberately, like, behind the scenes so that they can get a reaction or cause a response for some people. But, gang, setting fires to abandoned buildings. What happens when, like, there's some drug addicts in the abandoned building? You just set that bitch on fire, and there's some drug addicts or homeless people in there. I mean, I guess unless he like looks inside the building, but I don't think he's too bright enough to do that.
Most of his social media accounts aside from Facebook, sometimes you have cases that are just plain weird, like this one where a woman was peeing on produce for the views. It seems like almost every other day there's some big scandal going on with an OnlyFans girl. While a lot of them will get into things that are legally dubious, there's nothing really dubious about this case as it's just straight up illegal. This is the story of a 23-year-old woman named Kelly Tedford. It has been said that Kelly has made a small name for herself on the platform for what has been called, well, pee fetishism. Throughout some of her videos, Kelly would excite her fans by peeing in various public places. When that wasn't really doing the trick anymore, she moved to peeing on objects. And finally, she started peeing on public objects in stores and even on food. It seems that after enough people on her page finally saw her peeing on grocery store items, someone finally reported her to the authorities through an anonymous tip line. This tip came after she posted a video in which she went to a Monadnock Food Co-op grocery store and dropped her pants to pee all over some walnuts, quinoa, cornmeal, and coconut shreds. The store was already onto her after shoppers had noticed that the items had clearly been peed on and informed the management. So it wasn't too hard for the police to link Kelly to the case. She was arrested in February of 2025 after she uploaded several videos of that sort online. She was charged with criminal mischief as a Class B felony. It turns out that she had costed the grocery store about $1,500 in both damaged goods and deep cleaning expenses. Police found videos of this nature on her account dating all the way back to 2021, meaning she had been doing this for 4 years at the least. She had even gone on to other surrounding towns in the area just to film more of the pee parties. After a while, Kelly was released on her own recognizance and is now all set to appear for an arraignment at some point in the future.
Alright, bro, the money on OnlyFans can't be that good for you to be peeing on produce inside the mall, like outside in public. Like, the money can't be that good on OnlyFans. Like, indecent exposure and peeing on like walnuts and vegetables and stuff like that. Like, and she been doing it for 4 years. The money on OnlyFans ain't that good. Like, I promise you the money ain't that good. I can guarantee you. I'm pretty sure the money ain't worth you going to jail and getting a Class B felony for pissing on some produce. Like, bro, just go outside and like film you peeing. Like, bro, there's gonna be more freaks that come up and like the way you pee or something like that. Like, bro, you peeing on produce, gang, that people are like going out to buy and eat. Bro, lock her up and throw away the key, gang. 15 years, gang.
Now, how about the guy who was knocked out by duct tape? While a lot of social media stunts out there are guaranteed to be dangerous, a lot of them aren't really so immediately obvious to be dangerous from the start. However, any stunt really could be dangerous depending on how it's performed, even a stunt involving something as simple as duct tape. An Australian influencer named Lil Golo was fairly known for engaging in all sorts of weird and dumb stunts that would often land him in a bit of danger. When he decided to see how many strips of duct tape he could run through, though nobody really expected this to be the one that would land him in the hospital. At a place called Base Space in Auckland, New Zealand, he decided to strap some duct tape between two bars and see how many strips he could run through, adding more and more strips of tape each time. After the challenge was proving to be a bit boring, with the lower numbers of strips being very easy to run through, he decided to skip the majority of the build-up and jump straight up to 1,000 strips. Buying $400 worth of duct tape, he spread it all out between the two metal bars and attempted to run through. On the first attempt, he hit the tape but didn't break through. Although he fell down, he was ready to get up and try it again. On the second attempt, he ran face first into the tape, knocking himself down to the ground and slamming his head on the concrete. He was out cold. Luckily, a doctor was in the area and came over to check him out. As he was drooling and snoring, it wasn't looking too good. An ambulance was called and Lil Golo was taken out to the hospital. The paramedics put him into a neck brace and gave him some drugs to dull the pain. In the hospital, Lil Golo said, "I don't remember what happened, and I think I'm just gonna stick to OnlyFans videos." He added that he really thought he could run through all of the duct tape and said he was pretty pissed off at the result. Many users online weren't so entertained by his stunt, with one commenter writing, "I had to wait hours in the emergency room with a perforated bowel that went septic due to chronic understaffing and stretched resources. So it's great to see people injuring themselves for clout on the internet or putting further strain on a failing system." Another wrote, "Waste of tape, waste of tax money, waste of hospital time and resources, waste of oxygen, and waste of mom's efforts to raise this thing."
Hey, I actually stumbled on his video on like Instagram, and like he actually does some like crazy stuff, not too crazy, but like crazy stuff like that. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Bro is like crazy insane. But like I forgot what country he in. I think he been to like Thailand or something. He bases it out of Thailand, or he's from Thailand or something like that. Thailand. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I think he's based from there or something like that. But I think they got free healthcare where he filmed this at. Brazil, I think, or Argentina. I forgot where he said they filmed it, but I think they have free healthcare there, right? But bro is crazy, doing crazy stuff like that. I seen the video of him running through the tape, and like bro got knocked out. Bro knocked himself out.
Speaking of danger, how about the story of a snake bite to the penis? There are a whole lot of different wildlife channels online, with most of them taking a pretty good amount of caution when dealing with things like dangerous animals. However, an Indonesian influencer named Anggara Shoji wasn't the type to really exercise such caution. With about 350,000 subscribers on YouTube alone, he was doing pretty well. He had a channel in which he would often deal with exotic snakes and reptiles, usually out in the wild. For one video, he was doing just that. In the video, we jump right into the main affair with little to no lead-up, a snake biting Shoji on the wiener. The snake seems to be firmly latched on. While at first it appears that the snake may just be biting a fold on his pants, when the camera zooms in, it definitely appears more that it's eating itself a hot dog. Given the amount of agony and sweat present on Shoji's face, it seems pretty evident that he's feeling the burn. Despite his best efforts to get the snake to let go, he seems to just give up and sit down on the ground. Once the video was shared all over the internet, mainly on Instagram, it amassed well over 17 million views. While I haven't been able to find out what kind of snake this actually is, commenters have speculated that it's a mangrove snake, a mildly venomous snake with some pretty sharp teeth. Maybe someone in my comment section is more knowledgeable about snakes and can tell us how screwed Shoji really was.
Well, if it was mildly venomous, then I think they would have, like, the cure right there or something like that. I forgot what they call it. But, like, the cure right there, if it's mildly venomous. Meaning, he's still alive. The video got published. So, it's not that bad, but he still published the video, though. Why he over here zooming in on the man's like Johnson? Don't nobody want to see that man's wiener?
While a lot of stunts are unintentionally dangerous, sometimes people put themselves into danger on purpose with an odd sort of elective, such as the rib removal surgery. Alright, anytime I really cover a case involving a trans person in any way, it's like giving the comment section a loaded gun to point at my head. This stunt, however, really isn't all that related to being trans, or even the general kind of surgery that might come along with that. This is definitely something that this person kind of came up with outside the box. Emily James, at this point, was no stranger to getting surgery. On social media, she bragged about getting a boob job and talked about facial feminization surgery as well. However, it was a different surgery that really got the public talking. You've probably heard those old rumors about Marilyn Manson getting some ribs removed to go down on himself. Well, maybe Emily here heard some of those same rumors because that's exactly what she did. Maybe for not that reason, but she did. In a procedure that costed about $17,000, Emily had a surgeon in Kansas City remove 6 of her ribs in order to make for a smaller waist. In a couple of creepy social media posts, she not only showed the ribs in some sort of biohazard bag, which I probably can't even show on here, but also expressed her interest in turning the ribs into some sort of hellish crown to wear. After the surgery, the Missouri maniac had to wear a corset at all times of day to keep the shape she was going for. She said that the pain was only about a 2 out of 10, which was pretty surprising to most, even showing the scars later on down the line. Creeping people out even further, she wrote, "They let me keep the ribs and I was initially going to gift them to my best friend. I've had people say they would make them into a chew toy or boil them down into broth. Personally, I think my meat would taste delicious." Later on, Emily did say that she wasn't 100% sure that the surgery had been worth it, saying that she had experienced some complications, but she didn't really specify. However, she did say she liked the visible results. When her comments basically called her crazy, she said, "I know some of your moms walk around with Brazilian butt lifts. How is this any different?"
With Brazilian butt lifts, they don't remove fat and let you keep it in a bag. They get fat from a different part of your body and place it in your butt. You removed your ribs. That's not the same. You're getting something removed. They're removing something and then placing it back in their body. They're not taking it out of their body completely. And then I believe he said that she has to wear a corset to maintain and preserve like her shape and her figure. So it's not even worth it because you have to wear something to maintain that shape or else you're gonna lose it. That just disgusted me.
While some people do things that are outright dangerous, some people only pretend to do something dangerous, such as a woman who was faking a kidnapping because she was bored. There have actually been a whole lot of different cases where influencers have faked their own deaths, faked the deaths of others, or at least faked injuries to some degree. Some of them, like the woman in this story, chose a very different sort of crime to fake. An Instagram model in Nigeria named Victoria Rose, who went by the username WoVicky, decided to post a series of tweets saying that she had been kidnapped. Not only that, but she demanded a ransom for herself. In one tweet, she wrote, "I have kidnapped Vicky. She is with me in Nigeria. I am demanding $1 million for her release." Then she simply left her fans to worry about her, call the police, and speculate as to who might have taken her for a while. However, later on she came clean on an Instagram live video, showing that she was alive and well, admitting that she was lying about the whole thing. The reasoning she gave was that she was just bored. She said, "We got kind of carried away with the joke. You know, we just like to have fun and joke. I don't drink or go to the club, so this is how I find my entertainment. You know, it's probably not the best way to do it. I'd probably be like reading the Bible or something like that. The Bible said laughter is good for the soul, so I'd be wanting to laugh, and this is how I find that funny. She went on to blame the fact that she didn't date a lot, saying that she couldn't date much because she had such good Christian values that people just found it too hard to relate. She said, "So this is kind of like how I have fun, but we all struggle in different areas, so I'm not saying this was the right thing to do, but I take accountability and ownership. I'm sorry for anyone that I harmed in the process, but it's all love." Then she posted a picture with the man she was dating the very next day. Users flooded the comments to express that they weren't really too happy with the stunt she had pulled, with many of them unfollowing her in disgust.
She said that she was like a Christian religion, not Christian religion, but she was a Christian, but yet, and she said that in the Bible it says it's good for laughter. In the Bible, doesn't it say thou shalt not lie? So, what's going on here? So you're lying and having like fun and laughter for your own entertainment, and then trying to interject the Bible as your excuse to why you lied, while also breaking one of the laws that's in the Bible. What type of stupid stuff is this? That's why I don't take Vicky seriously. Like, after she like did them stunts of her acting black, and then she quote unquote changed, I don't take Vicky seriously. None. I don't take her serious, not one lick, bro. I don't take her serious, not one thing. Like, she's stupid, dumb. Like,
some people really do try to use their platform to be a bit more positive and make a difference, but well, here we have the story of a body positivity influencer who chokes and has a heart attack. Now, here's a case that I'm sure is going to prove controversial, but given the amount of buzz it generated online and the sheer amount of people who commented on it, it was really hard to pass it up for a compilation like this. This was the story of a woman named Carol Acosta, known on social media as Killa Demente, who had over 6.7 million followers on Instagram alone. She was known for being one of the heads of the body positivity and fat acceptance movements that were all over the place at the time. She even released a song in 2017 capitalizing on this persona, making a track called "Mi amo y no me importa," which means "I love myself and I don't care" in English. Everything went wrong when Carol went to a restaurant in New York with her family. There she shared a pretty big meal with them. While eating a bit too fast, though, she came to choke on her food. Then, after choking, she began to experience trouble breathing. And then, shortly after, she went into what her family described as some sort of attack and collapsed. Ambulances were called and she was rushed to the hospital. At the hospital, it was found that Carol had suffered a full-on heart attack at the young age of 27. They did what they could to save her, but they were too late. She was pronounced dead, with the cause of death being listed as cardiac arrest. Needless to say, the internet had a bit of a field day with the cause of death. Given that Carol was one of many prominent fat acceptance influencers to die within the short span of a couple of years, all before they reached the age of 40, she was used as an example of how promoting certain content, no matter how positive it may seem, could be dangerous.
I'm not gonna lie, Bruce Hoffman said it best himself. Like, a lot of these people, like, need to quit with that body positivity. I love myself. Like, all that's cool, that I love myself, my body, all that stuff is good. But when you overweight and you big and you can, like, have a heart attack and, like, have a stroke and, like, die, like, that's when you need to take your health seriously. Like, you're overweight, you're big, it's not healthy. Like, to be just out of breath just from, like, walking a couple of steps is not healthy. And people will be like, I'm good, I'm healthy. Like, no, you're not.
When it comes to eating, we have the Centipede Eating live stream. On the subject of eating, mukbangs and just videos of people eating weird stuff in general have really been a staple of online video sharing platforms for well over a decade now. This has been particularly true in China. Although the Chinese government has really tried to ban and cut down on these types of videos, feeling that it hurts the country's reputation, there have been far too many of them to actually police. This leads us to a man who hosted a channel on Douyu, one of China's most prominent live streaming platforms. The man, who has still gone unnamed, was no stranger to drinking huge amounts of alcohol on stream. When that wasn't doing the trick with his views anymore, though, he decided to move on to something a lot more strange: eating geckos and centipedes. Boasting about 15,000 followers, he would host these live streams every night where, frankly, his audience would just marvel at him eating weird stuff. To get more followers, he had built a spinning wheel that he would place in the back of his videos, a la the Wheel of Mythicality that would decide the next weird item he would ingest. On the board were a number of items. The geckos and centipedes for sure, but also things like alcohol and mealworms as well. He would simply eat or drink whatever the wheel landed on, see his community's reaction, then spin the wheel again and eat the next random thing. However, what the man didn't seem to know one night was that the centipedes he were eating were actually pretty poisonous. He found that out the hard way when he quickly collapsed dead on screen. The man's girlfriend later came out to his apartment to check on him. When she found him lifeless on the ground surrounded by lizards and bugs, she called the police. They found that he had been deceased for quite some time by this point. When they found him, his PC was still streaming video.
So wait, he died on live stream? I don't think he said he died on, but did he die on live stream? I'm pretty sure he died on live stream then. Like, people just be eating stuff just for the clout and just for attention. Like, that's honestly beyond me. Like, you gonna eat centipedes, geckos, roaches, ants, termites. That's disgusting.
And one other thing that we haven't quite touched on is when people admit to something horrible on their platform, such as admitting to a hit and run on a podcast. Sometimes the crazy thing that people do isn't actually something that's actually done on video or on stream. Some people, a surprising amount actually, have come to admit to previous crimes on their channels, or even on live streams or podcasts. One of such people was a Portuguese influencer named Tiago Grilla. He is known by people here and there all throughout the country, posted regularly all over social media, and was seemingly pretty well liked by the fans he had. However, this all changed in February of 2025 when, on one podcast, after being asked, "What's a secret you have never talked about?" he fully admitted to getting in a hit and run, saying that he hit a pedestrian with his car and just kept driving. He said that this all happened on a rainy night on a hill, saying that he didn't see the woman before he hit her, adding that he was looking at his phone. It seems that he thought most people would take this admission in a comedic sort of way, but that was far from the case. A lot of people couldn't really tell if Tiago was joking or not, given the delivery. Was the influencer they loved just engaging in a bit of dark humor, or had he maybe possibly killed someone and then fled the scene of a crime? A few days later, the public would get some answers. Tiago's victim came forward, a young mother who still lived with ongoing health problems as a result of the hit and run. Her medical complications were to the extent where she dealt with constant pain and could no longer work. After she came forward, Tiago decided to change up his story. Now he said that he was innocent and that the whole confession was nothing more than a marketing stunt. He said that he wasn't involved in the woman's injury in any way whatsoever. He began to post to social media rapidly, most likely in a bid to overwhelm and drown out the critics. It wasn't too long before Tiago was posting pictures of himself at the airport, saying that he was leaving the country for a little holiday due to threats. Most people weren't all too convinced of his explanation, feeling that he was most likely fleeing the country as the police were now looking into him. He said, "Before they start saying, 'You ran away, you can't leave the country,' I left a power of attorney." Most evidence shows that Tiago fled the country for Angola. People aren't really sure why he chose Angola in the end, but many have accepted it as very little of this story has made sense in the first place. Now it seems that Tiago is possibly going to get hit with charges of omission to provide help and negligent offense to physical integrity, both of which carry a prison sentence of 2 years. It still isn't known why he thought confessing to this crime on a highly publicized podcast would be a good idea when he could have just easily made up some sort of secret.
Alright, I ain't gonna lie, this is just like what people just like feel like they just have like too much power or too much clout, or they just untouchable. Like their fans will like believe anything, go along with anything, and won't like turn on them like when they tell them like a crime or something that they did. Like he just got a bit way too comfortable with his like fan base to even like confess a crime. Like you got on a podcast and confessed a crime. He just got way too comfortable with his fan base. He was just like way too comfortable, and he felt like he wasn't going to get caught. That's all that was.
Once again, thank you for watching my video. If you found it interesting, please give it a like, it really helps me out in the algorithm, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Recently, I've opened up a merch store. There you can get yourself some cool Dire Trip t-shirts and support the channel.
This is his channel. I said tag. W content, W content, W content. Injecting a butterfly in your own veins sounds like something some jealous villain used as a method to get back at Spider-Man. Injecting a butterfly into your leg has got to be one of the most obscure ways to win a Darwin Award I have ever encountered. That's some crazy stuff.